Hello guys, welcome back to another video on the YouTube channel. 2 in 2 weeks, so on a bit of a roll at the moment. Here we are, back in the Skip Barber yet again. This time we're heading to the Phoenix Legacy Road Course, which is an interesting little track. We did it in the Aussie Car Series a few seasons back, and it's good fun to drive. As you can see, not done too great of a qualifying run here. Sort of a medium strength of field, 2500. Quite a few quick drivers in here, and a race that I found very interesting to be a part of, I suppose, with some very different driving styles than maybe what I'm used to. So I thought it'd be a good one to have a bit of a reaction to and go through my thinking. It was certainly one that we needed to start thinking about getting the elbows out a little bit. So yeah, hopefully this time I've got the camera angle a little bit better. You can actually see the mirrors and those kind of things. So if we have a look at the grid, you can see Mateus Guiffrey, definitely butchering that one, managed to get pole from Brent McBurney, Scott Bell, Jeffrey Decker, Hideki Ogihara, who we'll see a little bit of, and Masaki Hamabe, who we'll definitely see a lot of throughout this race. Carlos Gonzalez, myself, only managing P8. I did stuff up my first qualifying lap, and I did notice that all of the guys who qualified up the top, they actually didn't do a proper first qualifying lap. They actually looks like they spent it warming their tyres, which I found quite interesting. Philip Handley and Senan Torres rounding out your top 10. Michael Braverman, Benjamin Wong, Zachary Martin and Francois Bess, and last place there, Ilya Toropov, rounding out your top 15. So 15 cars, 2,500 strength of field, and let's, I suppose, go racing. So let me get rid of my ugly mug, and let's hopefully see if we can get this to work the way we want it to this week. Let's get rid of those, and let's add that one. And let's go green at Phoenix Legacy Road Course. Now, obviously starting in 8th spot's not ideal. I'm definitely starting to think about, well, how am I going to make my way forward? I know there's a move you can get done around the outside into turn 1 for anyone who's conservative on the inside. That's something definitely I'm going to be thinking about doing early to try and get a little bit of a spot position. But ideally, what we don't want to do is break up the pack and lose any draft. I'd love to be on the back of the front guys as early as possible. So first couple of laps is what I'm hoping will give me a chance to do that. But let's see how it all plays out, shall we? Get a really good start off the line. As you can see, the car next to me not so good. So managed to gain a little bit of a position there, but probably could have been a little bit more aggressive around the outside here. So giving plenty of room as I let a car up the inside there. So we've got one position up already, which is nice to see. That sun is full of glare. And it's all about trying to stick with these front guys. As you can see, the front three are already starting to break away, and these guys are already looking racy. Bit of a check up there and a big crash behind. So you can see Jeffrey on the sort of front of my group here, and I'm hoping that he's able to bridge the gap. It looks like he's going to be able to, and I have a little bit of a mishap here. Get a little bit loose, not being used to the draft, and when you have the draft on that first corner, it can be a little bit dangerous. So tyres are a little bit warm now, so need to take it easy. Now, what I'm noticing, as I was just about to say, what I'm noticing early is that they're already going too wide, which to me was straight away showing that there's going to be a chance to catch that lead pack. So I wasn't too stressed about being aggressive, and I was starting to think, well, as long as I can stick with this little group and they're going to keep going too wide, then I'm a chance to make up positions where things go wrong, except it just happened to go a little bit wrong a little bit earlier than I was expecting, I suppose. So this moved me up into 4th spot, which was pretty cool. And this is where I suppose the race started to develop and things started to get racy. Now, Scott Bell behind me, who had a really good race, he was sort of showing himself in my mirror quite a bit. He was being patient. He drops back a couple of times. I do eventually let him go through because I felt like I was really struggling to stay with these guys, and I thought maybe I could jump on the back of him and he would be able to maybe break up the pack a little bit, as Jeffrey makes a bit of a mistake there and goes a bit wide. Hideki with the nice blue Subaru livery. You can see the Bell behind me, and nice and close, really holding that sort of 4/10, just like I am in front. You can see Masaki already starting to play games, diving onto the inside, taking that real defensive line as I sort of try and go around the outside a little bit here and get a run, but to no avail. So you can see very early in this race, what are we, only lap 4, that Masaki was here to play for keeps, and this is, I guess, ongoing throughout the race. You can see Scott Bell still showing himself in my mirrors quite a bit, keeping nice and close. Like I said, I was already up 4 spots here, and I wasn't too stressed about losing one, so I actually let Scott go through here. Don't try and fight it too hard. I did not want to lose too much momentum. And then, as you can see, he actually backs out. Sorry, it must be a next lap where I do eventually just let him go through, as I get all kinds of squiggly through there. You can see I'm just about outside draft territory here, and this is where I'm starting to get a little bit nervous, and that's why I can see Scott putting that pressure on me. And I just want to make sure I can stay within that draft and not let these guys go. Again, looking like I'm going to lose the draft here. Scott being nice and patient behind, not posing too much of a threat. And again, these guys are fighting, and I have a big moment. So we let Scott through. So down in position, but again, not too fast. I know Scott's got relatively good pace. And it's just about sticking with this top 4. Move right over to the right here, make sure that Scott's got plenty of room. Let him back through. Take that little bit longer line intentionally to just fall back a little bit, which is really nice. This is those little things in a race that can make a big difference. You know, I could have held Scott right up against the left-hand side, but instead, you know, take the slightly longer route, let him come back in with plenty of space and use that draft to just stay with. Again, could have tucked in behind him, but I'm taking that really non-threatening line. Don't want the draft, just want to stay in position. And you can see, by not sitting in the draft, you know, I haven't lost any time. I'm still right on the back of him. Being really cautious to lift out early. You know, the last thing I want to do is give someone a tap from behind. And like I said earlier, it's been made very clear the boys at the front are here to race. And they're not going to get away if they're doing that. So not too stressed about losing the pack at the moment. So coming up towards sort of the halfway mark in the race, and you can see we've dropped the group behind about 3 seconds now. Ooh. And there's no real urgency or desperation. It's more just about, you know, holding this position, keep building that lead behind, and I'm feeling as though that there's going to be some kind of carnage at some point because of the aggression of both of the drivers, even the Japanese driver in the blue. You know, just the way he's holding that line and checking up Bell ahead of me, it just seemed a little bit like a recipe for disaster from where I was sitting in this race. Again, you see the blue Subaru almost looking like he's really parking that initial apex and really causing Bell to check up, and that's why I'm making sure I'm running nice and wide, giving plenty of space so that we don't, you know, have an incident together. Now this is where things start to really, I suppose, kick off here. As again, too wide ahead. We start to see the lines, I suppose, changing, and we're really racing. Although we're not only just sort of pushing the halfway point in the race, you know, we're moving for sheep stations. That's for sure. So again, as a driver, you're seeing this almost 3 wide, and I'm just starting to think, okay, this is going to be chaos soon. Do I really want to be involved in it? So giving plenty of space. Probably could have even given a little bit more space there, to be honest, but did lift out to make sure that he could cut back in front of me. I'm noticing the cars ahead starting to maybe get away here, so I'm thinking maybe now's the time to make a move and just make sure we try and stay with this front pack of 4 and we don't get dropped. So using that nice runner draft to get the job done. And here we go. a nice big hip and shoulder there to Jeffrey Decker, causing some big issues, and managed to take advantage of it and move our way up into second. Just no need for it. Just cutting right across. There was almost like a hip and shoulder, and then he's right back up my inside. So I almost get pushed wide there, and that, well, I did get pushed wide. It was almost like the steering got opened up as I was sitting on the outside, and that's where I started thinking, okay, we're gonna have one of these battles, are we? So just wanted to make sure he knew that, you know, I'm not gonna get pushed around, and thought I'd show the nose up the inside. Never a real intent to go for the move because I was a little bit nervous from seeing what happened just a few corners before. And I wasn't very happy with the steering getting opened up on the oval section, so it was just to show the nose to say, hey, I am here, and, you know, I don't want to be bullied and pushed around either. Now, ideally, you know, I'd like to sit behind in this position, and hopefully we have the pace to stay with Scott. But you know, it's looking like he's broken the draft, and you see here, you know, got the run up the inside, and door gets closed. Fair enough. So whoa, I go to head up to the inside, and just sort of cuts back across in front of me. So I had to get right out of the throttle, and we actually made some contact there. It was a 0x. But yeah, that was, I guess, a sign of things to come for the rest of the race. So he really didn't want to have any bar of me having a run up the inside there, and just felt like he cut across on me a little bit as I tried to duck out from behind. So at this point in time, I'm starting to get a little bit of the red mist and be a little bit confused about maybe some of the driving tactics that are being used. Thankfully managed to stay within the draft and still have a chance, but it's becoming increasingly more difficult to chase down Scott, because any time that I get close to the back of the Red Bull driver ahead, you know, we end up taking defensive lines and just let Scott get away. So you see here, this time he goes straight defensive, which is fine. So I thought I'd go up around the outside. I hold a really wide line. I didn't really have any intention of making the move on him there, because I was honestly a bit nervous about what the repercussions of that might be. But I needed to make sure that I was far enough up that I couldn't be overtaken by the Subaru driver behind. And you see, as we battle just those one or two corners, you know, Scott gets away, and you know, by the end of this race, he ends up 6, 7, 8 seconds down the track. Draft's quite strong here, just trying to get the over-under. I really wanted to get the inside run. And again, just cuts across my nose and then fights back and pushes me wide again. So, yeah, it's at this point where I'm really starting to think about, okay, how am I going to get past this guy without, you know, the risk of losing all of the race, I suppose. And, you know, in hindsight, maybe I should have just sat behind and maybe let him lead. But I was under a little bit of pressure from behind, and I think it was more the tactics that had annoyed me and made me feel like I needed to, I suppose, you know, show myself, or, you know, make it known that that sort of stuff's not okay. So you see there, I went a little bit deeper intentionally to try and get the run, and managed to get the run around the outside. Not quite enough to get it completely around though. So now we're really battling, and I think this is where I possibly let my ego get the best of me. Um, show the nose here and there. Never really going to make a pass. You can see I back out of it. But again, just putting that pressure on, making my presence felt. And like I said, I feel like I probably let my ego get the best of me in this one. I was disappointed with maybe the tactics that this driver was using. You see again, diving across to cover that inside line after being on the outside initially. And it sort of forced my hand into becoming a little bit too racy because, I really didn't want to, again, look at that, cutting across the middle of the track as a block. Like, I really didn't want to have a race where I lost to someone driving like that. Again, sticking his nose right up the inside of the wall here. Very, risky position to be. I thought I was holding the inside line. But, I left that just enough car length where he was going to literally drive the inside wall. So again, really trying to put the pressure on now and make him make a mistake as I sort of make a bit of a mistake myself there. See, I wasn't impressed with the swerve in the oval section. I felt that was a really, disappointingly aggressive move. And could have ended both of our races. That's a very unnatural movement. And is certainly not holding your line. And when we talk about things like blocking, that's sort of the thing I think of. Not good defending that, many race drivers use. Genuine blocking and using your car in an aggressive manner like that. I think he started to realise that I probably don't have the courage to stick it up the inside there. It's more of just proving a point. Again, a bit worried here about the last time. Again, so we make contact again, where he sort of swerves out in front of me to try and block my run. And we made contact, and at this point in time, there was definitely no chance of me redressing that position. It was a little bit of a bump and run. I didn't mean to hit him at all. It just sort of happened. And this is where I managed to start to get a little bit of a breakaway thanks to Jeffrey behind, who was the car that very unfortunately was taken out by Masaki earlier in the race. He sort of decided that I think he was not really all that happy with the way that Masaki was driving either, and sort of decided, even though he was a lap down, he felt he was quicker and was gonna be racy with him, which definitely helped my cause. So coming up to the last lap now, managed to get about half a second gap, which isn't much, but it's definitely enough. Trying to break the draft as much as I can. Just need to get this corner right now. You can see though, 7 seconds up the road is Scott Bell, who's just driven away like we're nothing due to the fighting. So in the end, we managed to rack up a P2 after starting from 8th, so up 6 spots. And, you know, a really interesting race. Not the kind of race I'm used to being a part of. I would definitely give you that. Normally the races in the Skippies are a lot less hectic, or at least they have been of recent memory. And I thought this would just be an interesting video because I haven't come across a driver in a long time, you know, honestly back to the MX-5 sort of rookie days, making those swipes across the front of your nose and those, you know, really desperate blocking sort of maneuvers. And it was interesting how it played on my mind throughout the race and how I really let my own ego get the better of me, and rather than maybe just letting him have it and sitting behind, and you know, I think chances are Scott was going to drive away from us anyway because he was sort of making some mistakes in front of me. I really put myself in a position to be risk losing my P3 or P4 or wherever I might have been, for the sake of not letting the guy who I felt was driving, you know, per se dirty, have the better of me. So it was a bit of an interesting one for me to look back at now and think, you know, was it the best decision for my own racing? In this time around, it worked out well, but on another day, it very much may not work out so well. So let's have a look at the final race results. You can see Scott Bell, the American, got away and won by 7 seconds. Myself managed to pick up a P2. Hideki Ogihara in P3. Masaki Hamabe, who was battling us real hard throughout that race, only managed 4th. Francois Bess in P5. Philip Hambley P6. Ilya Toporov from 15th all the way up to 7th. Senan Torres, Benjamin Wong, Jeffrey Decker rounding out your top 10. A lap down as well, Brett McBurney, Zachary Martin, Carlos Gonzalez, Mateus Guifrey, definitely going to get that name right, and Michael Braverman all off the lead lap. So hopefully you enjoyed that video. Like I said, it was an interesting thing to look back on for me. I probably let my emotions maybe get the better of me a little bit in that one, but certainly some really fun and intense racing at the time, and you know, it's definitely someone that I'll keep an eye out for in the future, and know that I'm going to have to tread lightly around them. That's for sure. Hopefully you enjoyed. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and head over to my twitch.tv/thewandywade to see some of these races live. Take it easy.